everyone. Thank you for working with me and being patient. I am going to go back to the beginning. So we are going to get started with our webinar. Sorry, we're a couple minutes late. For those of you who haven't seen our awesome Halloween costume pictures, I did want to go back. I worked very hard on them. So today we are going to be learning about MNA membership benefits from Sarah Pinder, who is our engagement director. You all have opportunities both going to do that, and then we're going to go over housekeeping and just type up or just look at some of the things that we have coming up and some of the things that you all should be paying attention to within our program.
Is our volume fine for everyone? Rita made a comment about turning up the volume. Are we quiet, or are we the right volume for everyone?
Okay. So Rita, you might just need to either call in through your work phone or your cell phone, or turn up the volume on your computer. Maybe get a headset too. I don't know if any of those be. These are going to be recorded and posted on MNA's website, well, MNA Vista website, and we'll send out the link with that when it's uploaded. So I'm going to pass it over to Sarah Pinder, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about membership.
Thanks, Zakia. Again, as Zakia said, my name is Sarah Pinder. I'm the engagement director here at Michigan Nonprofit Association. Thank you so much to Zakia and Dylan and me on board. And I look forward to meeting you at various MNA events and trainings that you have coming up in the this year of service. So as Zakia mentioned, you all work with nonprofits, and all of the organization volunteers, and we wanted to make sure that you were aware of some idea of what's in, even after you transition out of your host site or year of service. So I'm going to spend a little time today on the MNA website. This is where all of our benefits are listed and located, also where you will get access to them. I'm going to cover a lot and probably go pretty quickly. So my hope is that you pay attention and that you understand, you leave the webinar with an understanding of what's out there. Don't feel like you have to memorize everything or remember exactly how to access it. To help you with that, either myself or other people of our membership team, but also Dylan and Zakia and Maggie. So as long as you have some inkling that, maybe you're 6 months down the road and looking for a grant opportunity, and you remember this really great grant resource that specific instructions on how to access that information. Many of you are probably thinking, I don't have my login, which is probably accurate. Dairy contact at usually an executive director, maybe a follow-up to this call to connect with your supervisor, see if they have this login information, or if maybe they can point you to the appropriate person that does. They have a couple different options. They can set you up with your own username for the organization. If you have trouble, because when you do, then you won't be blocked by any, for instance, member discount codes. If you're ever this is where you'll find the discount code that you need to receive the member rate on events, and we'll talk about it, but know that there's some easy board that you encounter. The other thing I should mention, when you do log in on that login page, there's some easy help videos, as well as a forgot password and a forgot username link. So again, if you're working with your site supervisor who maybe. So I'm going to go ahead and click over to our new item called here, that benefit up here at the top. Right now is our compensation and benefits report. This is a comprehensive report that allows us to share information about various nonprofit positions and salaries and different benefits that are provided. I mentioned this in part because we are right now in the process of revamping this report for 2019. That means we're asking all nonprofits who are willing in the state of Michigan to fill out the survey and to provide us with this information about their staff. That's what we do. We do a survey first, we gather all the information, and then we're able to take that information, crunch the numbers, and produce it in this report that we put back out into the sector. So if you are talking to your site supervisor about benefits, I would encourage you to mention this one, and please help us get as many survey responses as we can. I know that Maggie's been in contact with the site supervisors, so they probably already know something about it, but that's just an interesting way that MNA leads within the sector. And it might be interesting to you in the future with projects that you're working on, maybe when you get into that job search and you really want to know what certain nonprofit positions offer salary and benefits. Just know that this data is out there and can be accessed via MNA. So below that is some benefits that are in fundraising and finance support. And I probably won't go through all of the benefits today, but I'll definitely point out some that may be helpful to you in your service. One is free access to GrantStation. And before I go to this, just please don't hesitate to ask questions. You can communicate with Zaki and Dylan via the chat function, and I'll take a few pauses in between the items that I'm going to cover here and try to answer any of those questions for you. So GrantStation is an online grant station, and is a great opportunity for you to be able to find new grant opportunities for your organization. I understand that very often vistas get the opportunity to write grants, sometimes are tasked with that, and GrantStation is just a really great resource for that. So GrantStation is a standalone website. If you Googled GrantStation, you could find it. They do have a pretty large annual subscription fee, and that is what you get for free through Michigan Nonprofit Association. So you get free access to this resource that can definitely help you in your service. So you have to come through Michigan Nonprofit Association's website to get that free access. And when you're in the right place, you'll see up here at the top, Welcome Michigan Nonprofit Association. And then you know you're logged in and you won't be charged a subscription fee. So they have a lot of information here, and I would encourage you to spend a little bit of time on their site. If you've never written a grant proposal, or maybe you have, but it's been several years, I would encourage you to look at all of this information under Write Proposals. They literally have each section of a grant, and you can see over here they even have more links and different things that you should include in each section of the grant as some tips and tricks for writing it. Really great learning opportunity here. And again, they do other things all over their website. There's help and resources, so definitely take some time to check that out. The main function of GrantStation, as I was saying, it's a searchable online grants database. So if you go under Find Grant Makers, and down here under Searchable Listings, you can see they have about, 7 different databases. So you can pick whichever database you want to search. I usually use U.S. Charitable. It's the most general. I don't think we have anyone in Canada, so we can eliminate those. And unless you know you want state or federal funding, I would include the U.S. Charitable database. That's the one I would choose. So when you click on that, what you get over here on the right side is all different parameters that you can use to search by. And you can see on the left side, they give you some information and instructions on how to narrow your search. I'm going to do a sample one for you real quick. I'm going to always makers in Michigan. I'm going to do that right away. So let's see. I'm going to choose literary arts, because I think there's some people that are working in the educational space. And I'm going to actually go down further to even refine our search. I am going to do target populations, maybe I want to look at education opportunities for children. And I'm going to scroll back, continue to search. You can see with all of these search criteria over here, and if you don't want to spend your time, you know, researching and reading about 166 different foundations, I would suggest you continue to use these search functions and play around with it a little bit and narrow your search. There is a short web video somewhere on their website that gives you some ideas on how to better refine your search. But anyway, here's what you get on the left side profile. You can see they have a Smart Kids program. They tell you a little bit about what type of grants they offer, what grants are and aren't provided for. And over here on the right, it gives you even more information: geographic scope, contact information, financial range, who is eligible, nonprofits, K-12 schools, faith-based, etc. And look, their applications are accepted between February 1 and December 15th. So, like I said, really great way to find opportunities with specific focus on what it is that you're working on during your service year, and then get from their profile. Some will even list specific contact information, so you could reach out to the program officer beforehand just to talk about your grant opportunity. But Grant Station is a really great resource. I hope you can see that, and we'll use it throughout your service year. Excuse me. So I'm going back to the nonprofit resources page to tell you about a few other resources that you have available through the MNA membership. Right next to Grant Station is another similar resource. It's called Foundation Directory Online. Some of you may have heard this. Subscription to the Foundation Center. Station may be interested in purchasing that as well. That's an opportunity for you. So one of the, if I click here under the member benefits chart, I'll be taken to the web calendar, which is where we provide, where we post opportunities. So I'm going to scroll back to September just to show you that what it looks like when we do have events posted on here. As you can see, we had a very busy September, so October is kind of a little bit of a lull, but you definitely want to check these out. There's a lot of opportunities. Some are in person, some are online, and you can access them at the member rate. Now, when you see this little orange icon here, and I know many of you were at Talent Strategy Summit, we're so happy you were able to attend that event at the Detroit Zoo. When you see this little orange icon of a person, that means there's a member rate available to you. The colors also mean various things. That this is an M&A event, some are partner events, some are in person. So definitely check out the events calendar. You can get to it from that nonprofit resources page that we run, but it's also always on the home page. And you click more events, you'll be taken to the events calendar after they've been conducted. Some are available for, so there are other grant really powerful statement of need. If you're interested in learning a little bit more, we had a couple of a series on 990 forms, which is the annual tax form that nonprofits have to complete. So lots of things available to you here for free. I'm going back to that same nonprofit resources page. Another great opportunity for you to access for free is these common nonprofit document templates. Coming up now. Okay. As you can see, this is our kind of our member library, and they have lots of different topics. One I do want to point out to you in particular, we actually have a really robust series in here that is all focused on volunteer management, something that I think vistas are very familiar with, and many of you will be doing within your service year. But as you can see, we've got this Engage Volunteer Management Training Series. It's separated into sections, and each one has like a PowerPoint, a script, a fact sheet, various resources. As you can see how many links that includes. Definitely a great resource for you to look into. Who knows, maybe you'll find a really awesome PowerPoint presentation that you can just tweak a little bit, and it'll be great, some great resources for your organization and for you. And scroll down, you can see that we have other templates as well, things on financial management, some resources on fundraising. I'm going back to the nonprofit resources page. You can see there's a trend here. This is where you want to go to some of the discounts with some of the, but definitely want to point out that there's a lot of information on this page and a lot of additional resources you can gain access to through your MNA membership. Let's see. I'm going to scroll down. Our next section is Managing HR and Benefits Report. That's here. MNA also offers a nonprofit job board, something for you to definitely be in tune with when you end your service year if you are looking for nonprofit jobs. One thing that might be really relevant to your organization now is verified volunteers. This is an opportunity to receive background checks at a discounted rate. MNA members receive a 20% discount off of verified volunteers. One really interesting thing about this system is it's not just your average volunteer background check service. It is unique because it allows volunteers to share their background checks among various community organizations. So for instance, if you have a volunteer that is volunteering with the local Girl Scouts, but also volunteers for the local, let's say, Big Brothers Big Sisters mentoring program, if both of those agencies accept verified volunteers background checks, they can share those background checks between the two organizations, ultimately saving the organizations money and also giving the volunteer a little bit more control over their volunteer background screening. So this is a great opportunity. Again, maybe something that your organization, your host site would be interested in. There's lots of information, as you can see. There's a newsletter, there's a blog. We have had some introductory webinars with verified volunteers. They would be in that recorded webinar archive. And you can listen to any of those to learn a little bit more about their platform and how it works. It has been endorsed by Points of Light, which is a national organization. Hopefully some of you have heard of that, that does a lot with volunteers and volunteer management. So definitely check out Verified Volunteers. Like I said, you can watch one of those recorded webinars and learn way more about that service. We have some resources in technology. MNA actually does have our own technology arm of our organization through MNA Tech. The guys that run that part of the organization do a great job, and so that may not be something that directly applies to your service, but if your organization is in need of technology support, MNA can provide that as well. So down below under the Making Connections heading, we also have some great opportunities for you to use MNA to connect with others in your local community. Our business marketplace is a directory that includes all of MNA's business members. These are businesses that primarily serve nonprofits and is a great resource, great directory to search if your organization is looking for specific business services, maybe a new auditor, maybe someone to help with a strategic plan, etc. Something that will probably be very relevant to you in your service year, because I know very often vistas are charged with creating community connections, partnerships, and things like that to advance their work, is our nonprofit member directory. So all of MNA's members are listed in this directory. You can see that you can search by county or organization type. And this can be a great starting point for you when it comes to wanting to create those community connections. So let's just say that you maybe are in the Flint area and you want to see other organizations that are MNA members in the Genesee County region. You can search by that, see all the records that come up, and then actually click a little bit more to connect with others in your organization. Maybe it's to make when trying to create community connections. To highlight on the member benefits page, as you can see, there are a lot of benefits I didn't talk about. In the recorded webinar archive, I do run a monthly where I mention, please feel free to ask me now.
If anyone has any questions, feel free to type them in. We did have a question about the difference between the Career Builder membership and the like nonprofit membership, and I think that I answered it pretty well, and just said that they should, if they have access to it, they would have access to more things. But I don't know if you can talk a little bit about what some of those specifics are.
Sure. So thanks, Vicky. Yeah, on the as you can see, we're back at the top here in this nonprofit resources page. And you can see right here, benefits marked with an asterisk are not available to career development memberships. So there are a few, here that are not available. There are a lot that are. You can definitely still come to events. You can definitely, access those recorded webinars and the document templates for added learning, et cetera. So just look for the ones that don't have an asterisk next to them on this chart. But keep in mind, and for some of you this might be new information, but what we're talking about today is a nonprofit membership. That's what all of your organizations have. So as long as you're serving with those host site organizations, you have access to everything on this list. Career development memberships are for individuals. So maybe when you end service or at another point in your career, you might be interested in the career development membership, and that's where you get a certain benefits and not others with that individual level membership. But right now in your service year, if you access the site through your host site's membership, you have access to everything that's included on this chart.
Thank you. And then we also had a question about how much the foundation directory costs, and I did want everyone to know, in case they weren't reading the questions log, that most libraries have access to the foundation directory for free if you used your library's computer.
Yep,
I apologize. But I did want to reiterate that too, especially because some of you are working within or partnered with libraries.
Yep, the discount that's available through MNA is there if your organization would like to have it on, on their own desktop computers or not have to go to the library for it. Of course, we know that unfortunately many times people don't utilize public libraries as much as they should, but Ziki is absolutely right. All the public libraries in Michigan have access to the foundation directory online. Probably if you connect with the reference librarian or call to the local public library, you can access that resource and they'll give you some indication on how to do it. Okay, so I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about a few other areas on our website that I think might be helpful to you. And again, I'll take a couple pauses, so keep the questions coming. Those are great questions to review. So I clicked on the tab that says Research and Publications because we have some really neat research and additional resources that are available to you. I didn't talk much about the Michigan Nonprofit Management Manual, but you can see that here. It is a great resource with a lot of common questions about nonprofit management. It may or may not come into your service. They do have some topics that might be relevant to you, such as fund development, budgets, etc. But just know that that resource is out there if you were to move into a space where you were working for a nonprofit after your service year, or you were thinking about nonprofit management as a career path. This is a really great tool. It's likely that some of your organizations have it around. So if you see the big blue book, definitely ask whoever has it if you can borrow it and take a look at it. So here, about halfway down on the page is an introduction to working in Michigan's nonprofit sector. This is a unique resource that kind of gives you an overview of what the nonprofit sector is really like. We know from some of our research that almost 11% of Michigan's workforce is in the nonprofit sector. That's a pretty interesting statistic, and honestly is not something I knew before I came to MNA. It shows how much power and influence our sector can have, as well as might be really interesting to you, as many of you are working in the workforce development space, to know and have data behind the fact that nonprofit careers are definitely a viable option for people that are entering the workforce. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that, but this publication definitely includes some information like that. It includes information on the Public Student Loan Forgiveness Program, which is still an option as of right now, and definitely something you should consider if you are looking at a nonprofit career as a potential career path. Has information, actually firsthand kind of stories or testimonials from people that work in the nonprofit sector and what kind of day-to-day life is. Has a little bit of information about what types of jobs are posted. So we're going to work out a way for you to get this resource, and stay tuned for that, but definitely check that out when it comes through, because it's a pretty quick read and definitely has some interesting information for you. Under free publications, we do have this new nonprofit leadership guide. This is specifically focused on Southeast Michigan. So if you're serving in that region, definitely check out the nonprofit leadership guide. What this is a listing of all of the leadership programs in your area. So you may learn about some you didn't know about, and also ways to further your nonprofit career, further your learning opportunities, and just kind of get a good sense of what's out there. We do have some on here from former MNA Vistas. We have a report actually on workforce development in Detroit that can be downloaded for free here, and as well as the workforce. There's another one too, a needs assessment for that same topic area. MNA Links magazine is a professional publication that comes out once per quarter. Actually, Maggie and Zakia have been involved in helping with the publication of these recent magazines. So keep an eye out for those. Those are actually mailed to your member organizations, but you can you can access the archive right here. You will have to log in for that resource. But again, more ways to kind of develop your general knowledge of nonprofits and do a little light reading in the areas of nonprofit management and kind of current trends in the nonprofit sector that you might be interested in. Principles and Practices is really a signature resource for MNA. We are currently revising this resource, and it'll be debuted online in a slightly different format, probably in the next few months. But for right now, the older version of Principles and Practices is available here. It's kind of threefold. There's a guide, a checklist, and an assessment tool. But basically, it lays out all the best practices for nonprofits. So there's 12 principles, and then within each principle, they have lots of practices that you're supposed to follow. Again, it's in that vein of nonprofit management. So may or may not be involved with your service area, but really great information to have and have access to. We also have a primer resource on specifically what nonprofits are allowed to do when it comes to nonprofit advocacy. And nonprofits are allowed to advocate and lobby. I know there's additional restrictions on you as AmeriCorps Vista, and you should definitely follow those directives first. But again, this goes into your kind of toolbox that's available to you if you're looking at nonprofits as a career or wanting to understand a little bit more about what nonprofits are able to advocate and lobby for. So there's some of the resources available there. I do want to point out, we also have launched a couple other ones. The Diversity, Inclusion, and Equity Assessment is something that nonprofits can use to gauge how their staff and board perceive that they are doing in these topic areas. So definitely, if you're interested in that topic, check out the Diversity, Inclusion, and Equity Assessment. The other two I want to point out to you, I think really may be relevant in your service year, is the Economic Benefits of Michigan's Nonprofit Sector is a report that MNA participates in periodically. As I mentioned, some of the statistics, for instance, that almost 11% of Michigan's workforce, that comes from this study. And as you can see here by the bolded area by the check marks, there are a lot of other data that we're able to pull from this survey. So I want to show you this because it's really cool. It looks like a lot of text, and you can download the full report here, and that's totally for free. But over here on the left, in kind of a secret area, there are really cool charts and tables that you can pull up in all three of these categories. And the cool part is you can drill them down all the way to a county level. So you can see information on employment and wages, overview of nonprofits, and nonprofits by social function. So I'm going to just show you here, if I go under employment and wages and go to the county, it takes a little bit of time to load because of the data that it's accessing. I'm hoping that it takes a little bit of time to load. Overview of nonprofits, we're going to go by county. This is a bad example. Let's see. View or download interactive regional maps. I'm going to third time's the charm. I'm going to hope these links work. And then after the webinar, I'm going to figure out why they don't work. All right, sorry guys. That is not working, and I am definitely going to let our communications team know that that is not working. However, I will show you that you can still download the report. As you can see, pretty pictures of really great locations and landmarks in Michigan. It goes beyond pretty pictures. You can see once you get into the report, it gives employment data, employment in nonprofits, wages, etc. So check that out. Once we figure out what's going on with those online reports, I'll make sure that you get that in a member update because it is really cool. What they do is they produce these little bubble graphs, like I said, that you can really create like a 1 or 2 page PDF very quickly for your own region and have some really great information. A lot of times we'll use this information when we talk with lawmakers, but for instance, you could use it when you were talking with those community partnerships, or maybe you're doing work in workforce development, you want to make the case of how many opportunities are available in the nonprofit sector. That's where you can really make some concrete arguments using this employment and wage data. So more to come on that. We also have a document called Michigan Civic Health Index, and that includes some information about the things that make a community really healthy, different volunteer opportunities, the nonprofits that are in the community, et cetera, this Michigan Civic Health Index. So you can check that out, download that PDF, and browse through it and see what information there might be helpful to you. All right, I'm going to pause real quick again. Did anyone have any other questions on any of the research or publications?
So Curtis asked if MNA produces all of that data, or is it from like an outside source?
Good question. It does vary. We generally don't do things all on our own. We like to work with partners and collaborate with a lot, so it depends on which resource that you're talking about. For instance, with the compensation and benefits survey, we work with a data management partner that helps us collect data, and then they actually do the number crunching for us. The one I just showed you, the economic benefits survey, that was done with PSC, which is Public Sector Consultants, and a few other partnering organizations. And for instance, on that economic benefits data, that data actually comes directly from the state, because nonprofits report on a quarterly basis about their wages and employment. So unlike the compensation and benefits survey report, which is based on survey data, the economic benefits study is actually based on reported data to the state. So most of the publications, if you pull them up and read the first page or two, it'll talk about all the different partners and really the method used to create those data sources, but it really just varies. But that's a great question.
That is all of the questions that we have from Vistas right now. But thank you so much for talking to us about this, because I have been with MNA's program, this is my 3rd year, and I feel like every time you talk about membership, I learn more about what I have access to also. So even today, I feel like some of the research and publications, even the last week we went over MNA membership, some of the research and publications I didn't know we had. So I'll be looking at those, and I hope that our Vistas really take advantage of everything that MNA membership has to offer and some of the resources that come with being a Vista with our program.
Great, thanks for having me. And real quick before I sign off, I'll tell you one other thing. Under the Who We Are tab, I would encourage you all to go to this Get Connected page. This will help you connect with MNA and stay up to date. All of this you can access as a member or a non-member. We are on social media, so I would encourage you on your, I know you have the social media page, the Facebook page for MNA Vista. MNA also has one. We're also on Twitter and LinkedIn. So I would encourage you to connect with us on any of those social media platforms that are your preferred way of getting information, both individually, but also if you're doing something with your host site and in the realm of social media, connect the host site and MNA. That's a great way for us to highlight what our member organizations are doing and celebrate successes when they come by. So definitely check out Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. And if you haven't already, come here and sign up for the My Nonprofit News. That is our most general e-newsletter. Like I said, members and non-members alike can sign up for this e-news. and it will include any upcoming events that we have, information about trends in the sector, and any other information about projects and programs that MNA is running, such as the compensation and benefits survey. Right now, we're doing a lot of promotion for that. But also, we're doing a lot of work with Census 2020, and you'll see information and updates there. So definitely check out the Get Connected page and make sure that you're connected with MNA in some way. So thank you again, Zakia and Dylan and Maggie, for having me. And like I said, if you have additional questions, feel free to reach out to your Vista leader or someone else on MNA staff, and we'll be happy to connect you with the appropriate person or benefits or resources that are available to you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you so much.
Okay. I am going to take over again and just go over a little bit of housekeeping. Since we only have 8 minutes, we did want to briefly ask you if you are comfortable to share some of your successes over the last month. I know the first month can be kind of difficult. It can be slow. And, you know, with everything that we're asking you to do with human-centered design and your VAD, just share some of the wins that you have if you want to. Otherwise, we're just going to move on to housekeeping. But I do want to hear about all the great things you guys are doing and kind of uplift some of that work. Yeah, Jennifer, you can just share, or if you want to speak, you can raise your hand and we can unmute you too. So if you would like the words to come from your own mouth, feel free to engage that way too.
Oh, wow. Trish has recruited 40 people from the trades to come and network with our students and arms. That's a huge, huge number. Curtis has been making strategic partnerships with, so getting right into the programming, and a large fundraiser just went well. Wow, okay, you guys are, you already are accomplishing a lot, so that's great to hear.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. I think it's encouraging. Javier says that he has a meeting with the Lansing Director of Community Outreach, and Shelly, Jackie, and Sean are doing a great job at Ingenium, engaging students and piloting them to be successful in their schools.
Ashley has been able to partner with Nethercutt Elementary School to be able to pay non-work study students to tutor for $12 to $14 an hour, which is a pretty good rate to tutor.
Wow, homely, right?
Yeah.
Wonderful. That's so exciting. I feel like sometimes being a step away from the work, it can be hard to see some of the impact from the M&A office. So I really appreciate hearing about all the great things that you're doing. And I'm really proud of all of you for the work that you've accomplished so far.
Wow, Sarah's met with 13 different partnering organizations about volunteer resources. So that is a lot of meetings. So congratulations on that.
And that's Sarah Hardigan, right?
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, Sarah Hardigan.
Wonderful. Well, keep them coming in if you feel comfortable doing that. I'm going to talk a little bit about housekeeping, or Dylan and I are going to talk a little bit about housekeeping. First and foremost, make sure that you get your timesheets, your monthly reports, and your OSAS in. I know we are still missing at least a few, and I know that your supervisor has to sign off on your OSA, and that can be difficult. But please get that into us as soon as possible, and if there is something going on with that, please reach out to us and be in communication with us about that as well. Yeah, those are from last month too. Okay.
So Jennifer has been building a pre-GED program that partners with the Washtenaw Community College, and they've doubled their learner count this semester from last semester, and also their volunteer tutor count. The volunteers are giving positive feedback on their lesson plans and management practices, so I'm feeling pretty great about this. That's awesome. And Suzanne has been running mock interviews with participants at Goodwill to help relieve anxiety around interviewing and helping them build skills around that. She'll also be attending a grant writing workshop this week with some of her coworkers, so that's great. I know personally I hate interviews, so any kind of training on that is always useful.
Sarah asks if she should wait for her supervisor to complete the supervisor training before completing the on-site orientation. So I know some of your supervisors might be in a little flux. I'll reach out to you, Sarah, and we can figure that out a little bit more too.
So Rita has had a district-wide service-on, including over 900 students, wow, and 6 partners in the community. And she's met with the teen center this week to see what the possibilities are to create a fun space in the upstairs of the building. She's also starting a Friday morning session with middle school kids to introduce them to the teen center. Awesome. Other things to note, so site visits are ongoing, so make sure you have those on your calendars. And there is, I believe me and Maggie are coming to see Rachel and Samantha tomorrow. So be excited for that.
This month we will have timesheets due for October on October 31st. So happy Halloween. And please remember that because we're doing our first QPR in November, you will not have to do a monthly report for October. That will be included in your QPR. You have templates in your program binder, but we will also send them out. And then the actual quarterly progress report will be completed through CVent, through a link that you will receive in your email.
Oh yeah, so another thing is, so we've been working on the website for you all, so it's still kind of in flux. Doesn't look the greatest right now, but all the data there is good. So it is mnavista.org. We've been updating it. There are lots of resources. If you go to the Vista resources and toolkits, we've been slowly updating those with lots of good articles and resources about stuff like time management and the health benefits of the Vista program. So I'd recommend checking that out if you haven't already. And we are in the process of updating it, so it's not perfect right now.
And if there are resources that you think should go on there, please feel free to send them out to us. And also, if you try to log in or to go to that site and it looks real messed up, we're probably in Weebly editing it at that moment. So just forewarning, that's something that we'll be working on. And if anything looks down, it's because we're working on it. Maggie, do you have anything else?
Yep, we have, in November, we've got a series of field trip trainings coming up, and while we haven't sent out info about them yet, we want to make sure that they're on your radar so that you can sign up for at least one of them while they're occurring. And the information that I'm providing you right now is really vague because we're finalizing a lot of information about the training, but just keep it on your radar, be open, don't schedule something for every day in November, that sort of thing.
Perfect. Sarah Hargan said, what is a field trip training, like a professional development workshop?
Yeah, Sarah, we covered that at Vista Orientation, and it is part of the member handbook too. It's a one-day training where we'll connect you with content experts and then also provide you additional professional development support related to your Vista service.
Great. Well, if you all have any more questions, we will stay on the line for a second. Please feel free to reach out to us. Otherwise, it's 11 o'clock. Y'all are free to go on your merry way. I hope you have a wonderful Wednesday. Bye.